a young lady that I was associated with. Uh, I'm thinking she probably was 5'5", maybe 120, 125 pounds. She was going to this Dame Young karate school and Mel Wise, and she always wanted to practice on somebody, you know. And so every time I saw her, she wanted to practice a block or move, or wanted me to hold her in a headlock or something, you know. And actually, I was much bigger and stronger than her. But I noticed as time went on, she became a little more wiry. She was harder to hold, you know, or put in the wrist in restraint and keep her there. She could get out of it, and she would tell me. She said, "Well, Bob, you know, you're really fast and you're strong for your size," and said if you got into this, that you would really be good at it. And that's really kind of how I kind of got into it. I just kind of noticed, you know, how quick and strong she was getting. And no, this was in the early 70s. No, I was, no, I was an adult then. Yeah, I was an adult. Well, it was the early 70s, I think February of 72. I was trying to decide, you know, where I wanted to go. There were two primary figures in Fort Wayne at that time. It was Robert Bowles and Parker Sheldon. And both of them was national champions, and I was like, you know, which one should I go to? Now, Mr. Bowles, he was national champion in weapons, you know. And he was maybe 5'8", you know. Mr. Shelton, 5'11", 6 foot, 250 pounds. And at that time, I was 5'11", 6 foot, 170. He was national champion in Kumite, which was fighting. So I figured if I had a weapon, you know, I didn't need karate. But and the way I looked at it, karate was basically fighting, you know, using your feet and hands. So Mr. Shelton was 6-time national champion, so I decided to go to him to study in 72, and that's what I did. He was 6-time back-to-back national champion, so I went to Parker Sheldon to learn. More or less to stay in the shape. I always kind of stayed in the shape after I got out of high school, you know, finished high school, push-ups and sit-ups and things of that nature. I always tried to keep myself in pretty fair shape. And when I went to his school, mostly it was just kids there. I was the only adult. It was like 13. That was the oldest child there, Jeff Slusky. And here I was an adult. So when he was going to demonstrate it on someone, he would pick me because I was his size. So basically what happened, I got, it really wasn't private lessons, but I got more hands-on working with the instructor than the other students because of me being an adult. So you call the person the uki, or the dummy. I was always kind of the dummy, so I had hands-on training more so, and that's how I kind of evolved. I didn't know anything about the competition, you know, but in order to advance, you have to place your ranking in the competition in order to advance along the belts in karate. Yes, I did. You know, you start off with a white belt, then 1 yellow tip, 2 yellow tips. You know, it depends on what style you study. They have different colors. You know, the 2 yellow tips, then the yellow belt, you know, and then the blue, then the green, then the purple, then it's the brown. This is the style that I studied. And once you become a brown, there's 3 phases of brown. before you were black. So it's kind of like college. Usually it's 4 or 5 years, sometimes 6, if you get black. Very few people become black belts, you know. And then there are some people that's black belts. You know you're a black belt when they put you in the ring with a black belt. If you just kind of went through the ranks pretty quick and they put a black belt on you. If you get in competition with a black belt, you'll know real soon whether you're a black belt or not.
Did you ever fight those guys?
Yeah, yes I did. Even fought some national champion guys who turned out to be national champions. One was Ross Scott out of Kokomo, Indiana. Mr. Glenn Keeney was his teacher. Mr. Glenn Keeney and Mr. Shelton, all of those masters know each other pretty well. And a lot of times they'll bring their students to your dojo and you'll take your students to their dojo to have inter-dojo competition, and that's what we did. And I can say this, Mr. Shelton, I was the only black that started there. There was some other black students came later, but I can truthfully say he showed no prejudice or anything of that nature, you know. Oh, I started out as a white belt, as everybody else do, and I rose to first degree brown here. So when you first get a brown belt under the show and rule style, you're a 3rd degree. You know, it's kind of backwards. You start off as a 3rd degree, then you're a 2nd degree, and when you are beginning to maybe test for black, you're 1st degree. So I was recommended 4 years after I started to go for my black belt, but I never did, you know. So I didn't reach my black belt till Harvester closed down, and I went over to Ohio to work at Navistar, International Harvester Navistar, and sitting around the house in the evening, nothing to do. Met some guys at work, and they was telling me about a karate school there in Urbana, Ohio, so I decided I'd go down. And I stood there and watched the guys, and the brown belts that I saw at that school over in Indiana, karate was a lot more intense, you know, than what I've seen. So that's kind of how I, you know, arrived. I started going to that school and started beating the brown belts there, because when you take karate here with Mr. Shelton, you know, by me being just as large as him, you know, he didn't hold back, so I learned really good. So I was beating the brown belts over there in Ohio. Then if you beat the brown belts, then they'd put you with a black belt for the tournament champion, the overall tournament champion. You know, and I was heavyweight at that time. I had maybe got up to 195 pounds, so I was in the heavyweight division. And they put me with the black belt, but I was brown. And I beat the black belt. And after they said, well, who is this guy, you know? After I did that a couple of times, you know, this guy was like a 3rd or 4th degree black belt. They said, well, where did his guy come from? And then my instructor told them, you know, I came out of Indiana, and they said, well, we got to, you know, have, well, we got to take and test him. We got to test him and, you know, get him moved along. So at his skill level, he shouldn't be a brown belt. Basically, if you're a brown belt and you beat a black belt, that's not good for a black belt. That's kind of embarrassing their system. So, you know, politics, like everything else. So I was tested, you know, over there for my black. Yes, I did in '90.